What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Min, and today I want to share with you guys some strategies to pay off debt fast. So I know, like most Americans, myself included, we all at some point had some debt that we had to pay off. Whether it's from credit cards, student loans, or just plain borrowing money from your brother. So I've had a decent amount of debt myself. Back in college, when I graduated, I had about $5,500 in student loans that I took out, and most of that was to fund me living through college without having to work. And I also had about $5,000 in credit card debt, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, had about $3,000 in credit card debt. So all in all, we had about $13,500 in debt that we had to pay off. Now, most of us have credit card debt, and credit card debt is probably one of the most expensive lessons to learn because credit cards have such a high interest rate. I remember one of my credit cards had an interest rate of like 29%. I didn't think anything of that interest until I realized that most of the payments that I was making was going to the interest instead. So let's talk about some of these techniques to get out of debt fast. If you have money set aside in a savings account somewhere, you need to start putting that towards debt. Now, you don't want to put the entire amount to debt. You need to save at least $1,000 just in case something hits the fan and you need to pay for something. Let's say your car died or you need to get new tires or something. You're gonna need that small emergency fund to kind of get you through that incident. And then everything else you need to just start tackling the debt with. So you shouldn't have that much in savings when you have credit card debt. It doesn't really help you by keeping that money on the side. And the reason why I say this is because if you think about it, your money that's sitting on the side is probably not even earning you any money at all. No interest. Even if you had a high yield savings, it probably only gets you 1.8%. Most credit cards have anywhere from 7 to 30% APR. That means that you are definitely losing money by keeping that in a savings account. So you need to apply that money to the principal of your credit card balance now. The second suggestion I have is to read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book. Now, I already loaned mine out the other day, but this book is a super easy read, and it's great for people that are kind of getting started and trying to get their life back together after kind of digging themselves a big old hole. And Dave has all of these baby steps that he uses, and I personally like a lot of them. I don't agree with him on some aspects of his methods, but most of them I agree with, and his book is a great way to get out of debt. So debt in particular is baby step number 2 in his book, and baby step number 1 is what I talked about earlier, is to make sure that you always have $1,000 in emergency fund. And in baby step 2 is to make sure that you pay all of your debt off. And I'm not including your home mortgage here, but everything else, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, whatever loans you have out there that has your name on it, you need to pay it off. And he talks about a method called the snowball method. In the snowball method, what you do is you list out all of your debts and you write it all out in lowest balance to highest balance. And the idea is that as you're paying off your lowest debts, you get that gratification of actually paying something off. Let's say you had like 5 credit cards and one of them was like a $300 balance, the other one was $1,000, and the other one was $3,000. You don't start tackling the $3,000 one because it's gonna take you a lot longer to pay that $3,000 one than the $100 one. So the idea around Dave's method is as you pay off the smaller ones, you owe less people money, and it also makes you feel better, so that way you feel like the work that you're putting in actually is meaningful. Because you went from owing 5 people something to only 3 people, which at the end of the day, that feels pretty good. Now, another method you can use is called the avalanche method. And this method is a little bit different in that you arrange your debt in the order of highest interest first. So that way your dollar is moving further. So let's say you had a 30% credit card, you would put all of your funds towards that first because that's 30% and that is a lot, and that makes a lot of sense to me. The problem with this is if you had a really high balance on that 30% credit card, then all of a sudden it's gonna take you a lot longer to pay that off. Now, I personally like the hybrid approach. If you have a couple small ones, let's say anything under $1,000, start with those first. It doesn't really matter what the APR is, just pay those off first because you're gonna get a lot of gratification from just knowing that you paid some of your debt off instead of trying to tackle the biggest one that has the highest interest, which might take you 2 to 3 years to even pay off. There's a calculator online made by Vertex Calculator that works really well, and what you do is you list all of your credit cards out just like I mentioned, you list all of your APRs for each of them, and then you list out your monthly payments that you have to make, and what it will do is calculate your minimum monthly payment as well as let you order it in the order you want to pay it off. And then in a separate sheet, it actually shows you how long it's going to take you to pay it off. And the nice thing about this calculator also is if you have extra money, let's say you created a budget and you had extra money left over you wanted to apply, you can actually put that in there and it'll actually accelerate your payoff. So I highly suggest you use this calculator if you have a lot of different credit cards that you're trying to pay off. It'll help you organize things and also let you visually see everything that's going on. The next suggestion I have for you is to move back home. If you're currently renting and paying rent to somebody, you need to move back home because that rent is probably the biggest bill that you have every month that you have to pay. Imagine eliminating that $7,000 to $1,000 rent. That's money that goes back into your pocket that you can apply to the debt. Now, I personally know a lot of people that did this, and they didn't do this to pay off debt, but they did this to save a lot of money for a down payment for a home. If you recall from my other videos, I actually did live at home for a long time before I actually moved out and bought my first home. And I did that so I can pay off my credit card debt, my student loan debt, my wife's credit card debt, and then also save up enough money to buy my first home. Now, I know this may sound embarrassing and it may even be painful to live with the in-laws or maybe your parents again, but trust me, it's gonna be worth it. And to be honest, you shouldn't care what people think about you anyways. You're doing this for yourself so you can secure your future, so just ignore all of the noise. Now, if you are moving back home, while it will remove your rent, you shouldn't freeload off your parents. You should help them in some way, whether it's paying their utilities or paying their internet bill. I mean, after all, you are using those things, so don't be a complete freeloader. You're gonna be saving already $1,000 a month by not having that, and all those bills you used to pay at your house or apartment are now gone. So just chip in and help them with some of the bills, and I guarantee you they will not have a problem with you living there. The next strategy I have is to make sure that you always have a budget. And if you don't know how to create a budget, you can check out my other video on how to create a budget, and it will show you exactly what you can do to start your first budget. The reason why a budget is important is because you need to see how much money is coming in and how much money is leaving every month. And if you create a budget and you see that your money is always negative in your budget, that means that you're further going into debt. So that means that you need to make some cuts somewhere in your budget. Another nice thing about a budget is it also lets you see everything that you're spending money on. And trust me when I say this, when people start to see everything they're spending money on, they start to cut things out. If you're really trying to get out of debt fast, you'll start cutting things out like entertainment and shopping. The idea here is that you're trying to get out of debt fast, so anywhere you can shave off money means that you'll have extra money to put towards your debt. Now, I don't suggest you go completely insane and just cut out everything and be in isolation mode. That's no way to live life. Maybe put yourself a really small $100 budget or something for shopping and entertainment, because that'll still let you go to the movies once in a while and it'll let you buy some new clothes. The next tip I have for you is to see if you can pick up extra shifts at your job. Now, if you're salary, you can't really pick up extra time, but if you're hourly, it means that you can work overtime to make extra money. And also means that you can work weekends or even holidays. Most of the time, people don't want to work holidays or weekends because they rather go spend it with their family or go out and hang out with people. If you're in debt, this is a perfect opportunity for you to volunteer and take those shifts. A lot of companies even offer double time if you work holidays. So pick up all those shifts and just do the grind so you can get out of debt as fast as possible. Now, if you're salary and you want to make some extra money, you can always pick up another small job. You know, whether it's freelancing, contracting, you can drive Uber or Lyft. You know, anything that's going to bring in a little bit extra wages is going to help with your debt. The next tip I have for you guys is to sell things that you aren't using. If you're like me, there's a bunch of stuff in your house that you probably haven't touched in 6 to 12 months or maybe even longer. And most likely, if you haven't touched it in that long, you probably don't need it. So you should probably consider selling it. You might think that your items are not valuable, but trust me, there's someone out there that wants to buy it. You can list things on Craigslist for free. You can list things on eBay. They take a 10% cut. And all you need to do is just take a couple pictures and write a couple things about what the item is, and you can post it online. There's always going to be someone out there looking for stuff to buy, and it might just happen to be your item. So go in your closet, go in your office, go in your drawers, take a look at what you can find. If you have electronics, those are things you need to sell off fast, because electronics, they can get so dated that they become useless. So you want to make sure you sell those before that happens. Even if you sell it for half of what you paid for the item, it doesn't really matter. This is now money that you had that you didn't have before. Also remember that less clutter means less stress, and you're living at your mom's house, so you don't want to bring all of that junk with you over there. This next tip I don't suggest to everybody, but if you want to take a stab at it and maybe you have less debt than most people, you can try it. And that is to go and find items that you can resell for a profit. Now, I used to do this when I used to live at home, and I used to sell Nintendo Wiis, and also I would find deals that were price mistakes and resell them for profit. The reason why this is dangerous is because you actually have to have a lot of money to buy these products, and sometimes you don't always sell them, and so you might be stuck with the item. So that's why I don't suggest it for some of you. But if you have a knack for finding things and being able to find something that you can flip for a profit, this is definitely a good way to make some money. I know some people go to Ross and buy things and resell them. They'll make like $5 to $10 an item, or maybe they'll just make $5 an item, but if you multiply that by 30 items, that's $150 extra that you have that month that you didn't have before. The next tip I have for you is once you have your budget set, start to look at things you can start doing yourself. And what I mean by that is stop paying people to do services for you. This haircut right here cost me nothing. That's because my wife learned how to cut my hair, and I used to pay someone $14 to cut my hair every 3 weeks. That's over $240 a year that I saved. Another example could be when you take your car in for service, or if you pay someone to mow your lawn. Start figuring out how to do some of that yourself, so that way you can save some of that money. The added benefit of this is now you know how to do this and you don't have to pay someone to do this ever again. Now, if none of these tips are getting you out of debt, then most likely you're not making enough money for the lifestyle that you're living. So that means that you need to go and improve yourself so that way you can get a better career. Start investing in yourself and see if you can pick up another job that will actually pay you more than what you're currently paying. Go on websites like Skillshare or Udemy and start picking up some extra skills. That's the only way you're gonna make more money and get out of debt. Think about it, if you're only making $20,000 a year and you're spending $18,000 of that just to live, you only have $2,000 left over to put towards debt. If you have $20,000 in debt, it's gonna take you 10 years to pay that off. And that's not even including interest. So what that means is you need to go and earn a better wage. So go and figure out how to get a $30,000 job or a $40,000 job or a $50,000 job. And make sure that when you get those jobs, you don't increase your lifestyle. That way you have extra money left over so you can attack the debt or put it aside for savings and investing. Now, if you want to check out Dave's book, I'll leave a link down in the description below, and I highly suggest it because it's a really easy to read book and it'll actually make you think a little bit differently about life. Now, this video is only specifically addressing step 2 of his baby steps, so there's a lot more baby steps to go before you actually can become financially stable. But remember, before you can build wealth, you need to get out of debt first. There's no way you're going to be able to build any wealth with credit card debt lingering over your shoulder. Now, this debt paying process is not going to be quick, so you need to make sure that you do the math and set some realistic expectations so you know exactly how long it's going to take you to pay it off. People are going to think you're weird because you're not hanging out with them or going out as much, but you need to just ignore all of that and just stay focused on the goal. And once you get to that date when you're debt free, you can actually go and do your debt free scream. And then you can go on the Dave Ramsey show and laugh at all the other people that are in debt. Just kidding. So just keep at it and don't deviate from the plan, and make sure your partner's on board with you, and just remember, I'm rooting for you. Alright you guys, hopefully that video was helpful. If it was, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with one of your friends. And if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you're aware when new videos are uploaded. And as always, have a nice day.